Nelson Mandela, a life of resistance, reconciliation, and remarkable leadership. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, July 18, 1918 to December 5, 2013, was one of the most influential political leaders and human rights activists in modern history, best known for his pivotal role in ending apartheid in South Africa and for becoming the country's first black president. Born in the small village of Mvizo in the Eastern Cape Province, Mandela belonged to the Thembu royal family of the Xhosa people. His birth name, Rolihlahla, means pulling the branch of a tree, or more colloquially, troublemaker, a foreshadowing of his fearless resistance against injustice. Educated at the University of Fort Hare and later the University of Witwatersrand, he studied law and became one of the few black lawyers in Johannesburg in the 1940s. Witnessing firsthand the brutal realities of racism and state-sanctioned discrimination under South Africa's apartheid regime, Mandela joined the African National Congress, ANC, in 1943 and quickly rose to prominence as a key figure in its efforts to mobilize against white minority rule. In 1952, Mandela and Oliver Tambo established South Africa's first black-owned law firm, offering free or affordable legal counsel to black South Africans. His activism intensified during the 1950s, leading to his involvement in the Defiance Campaign and the creation of the Freedom Charter, a blueprint for a non-racial, democratic South Africa. His leadership made him a target for the apartheid government, and he was arrested multiple times. By the early 1960s, seeing that peaceful protests were being met with increasing violence, Mandela co-founded the ANC's armed wing, Umkhonto we Sizwe, Spear of the Nation, which carried out sabotage operations against state infrastructure. In 1962, he was arrested and eventually sentenced to life imprisonment during the Rivonia trial for plotting to overthrow the government. Mandela would spend 27 years in prison, mostly on Robben Island, under harsh conditions. Despite the isolation and physical hardship, he remained mentally resilient and emerged as a global symbol of resistance, unity, and moral strength. While imprisoned, his legend grew, and the international campaign for his release intensified throughout the 1970s and 1980s. During this time, anti-apartheid movements around the world, particularly in Europe and North America, gained significant traction. Songs, protests, economic sanctions, and international pressure became powerful tools in the global fight to free Mandela and end apartheid. In 1990, under the presidency of F.W. de Klerk, and amid growing internal and external pressure, Mandela was finally released from prison at the age of 71. He immediately resumed leadership of the ANC and entered negotiations with the South African government, which would eventually lead to the dismantling of apartheid. His unwavering commitment to peaceful reconciliation, even after decades of imprisonment, helped avert a civil war and allowed for a relatively peaceful transition to democracy. In 1993, Mandela and de Klerk were jointly awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for their efforts. In 1994, South Africa held its first multiracial democratic elections, and Nelson Mandela was elected as the country's first black president. His presidency, 1994 to 1999, focused on national reconciliation, rebuilding the country's economy, and fostering a new, inclusive South African identity. He launched initiatives like the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, TRC, led by Archbishop Desmond Tutu, which aimed to uncover human rights violations committed during apartheid while promoting forgiveness and healing. Mandela's presidency was marked not only by political stability, but by a deep commitment to forgiveness, inclusion, and democratic values. After stepping down from the presidency in 1999, voluntarily after serving just one term, Mandela focused on humanity. Work through the Nelson Mandela Foundation, championing issues like HIV/AIDS awareness, education, and global peace. Despite retiring from active politics, he remained a moral compass for the world, often speaking out against injustice and inequality wherever it occurred. He was widely celebrated across the globe and received over 250 honors, including the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the Order of Lenin, and the Bharat Ratna, India's highest civilian award. Mandela passed away on December 5, 2013, at the age of 95, after a long illness. His death was mourned worldwide, and leaders from across the political and ideological spectrum paid tribute to his legacy. Though a deeply complex figure with political compromises and controversial decisions to his name, Mandela is revered as a towering symbol of dignity, resilience, forgiveness, and leadership. He remains one of the few political figures in history whose legacy has transcended national borders and political ideologies. His life reminds the world that reconciliation is possible even after the deepest divides, that forgiveness is a form of strength, and that justice and peace can be achieved through patience, courage, and dialogue. Surprising and unique insights about Mandela. 1. He made a cameo in Spike Lee's Malcolm X. Mandela appeared briefly at the end of Spike Lee's 1992 biopic Malcolm X, portraying a teacher reciting Malcolm X's speech to Soweto schoolchildren. However, he declined to say the line by any means necessary, prompting Lee to substitute footage of Malcolm X himself. 2. Odd tributes, a prehistoric woodpecker, and even a nuclear particle. Scientists named a prehistoric woodpecker Australopithecus Nelson Mandela in his honor. Additionally, in 1973, a nuclear particle at the University of Leeds was dubbed the Mandela particle. CNN. Demand Africa. CapetownDiamondMuseum.org. 3. He married a First Lady twice over. On his 80th birthday, Mandela married Graca Machel, who had previously been First Lady of Mozambique, making her one of the few women to have held that status in 2 countries. CNN. South China Morning Post. 4. The Black Pimpernel, a master of disguise. While underground evading arrest, Mandela adopted disguises, such as a chauffeur or chef, and became popularly known as the Black Pimpernel for his cunning evasion. 5. A tactical boxer, drawn to this science, not the violence. He was fascinated by boxing, not for the violence, but for its strategy. Mandela admired the discipline of movement and tactical planning within the sport. CNN. WSLS. 6. His favorite meal? Tripe, simple, humble, traditional. Mandela often preferred tripe, cow or sheep stomach lining, a staple in African cuisine, over fancy or international dishes. CNN. Boston 25 News. He also enjoyed citrus pudding, orange turkey, peanut butter and spinach soup, and Indian dishes like chicken curry post-prison release. Boston 25 News. 7. He remained on the U.S. terrorism watch list until 2008. Mandela and the ANC were only removed from the U.S. terrorist watch lists in 2008, reflecting Cold War-era political labeling despite his global standing as a symbol of peace. 8. A comic yet curious anecdote, Mandela and the bees. In 1998, Mandela recounted being attacked by a swarm of bees at his home in Kunu after refusing to have them removed. The story, widely covered, reflected his personable nature and nuanced relationship with media narratives. The New Yorker. 9. Did the CIA tip off his arrest? Mandela was arrested on August 5, 1962, while disguised as a chauffeur. Some historical records suggest the CIA may have informed South African authorities, though it remains unconfirmed. Time. 10. Robben Island. From prison cell to place of healing. Mandela spent 18 of his 27 imprisoned years in a Spartan cell on Robben Island. Despite brutal conditions, no bed, only mats, a plate, a bowl, and a metal bin, he maintained hope and intellect. The prison is now a museum, guided by former inmates and guards who share stories of Mandela's spirit and forgiveness.